Okay, a couple of things to clean up, not much, and then remember, tomorrow you have a test. I had asked you to watch Dodgeball, or some other movie that you knew well. I did want to point out that in Dodgeball, there's a certain spot that usually the kids know, where this guy sees this really ugly Russian chick, I guess, or something like that at the bar. And I mean, she's made up to be horribly ugly, and he looks and he just instantly falls in love. It's pretty funny. But anyway, I like to use that, since so many kids know it, because there's a Shakespearean quote that goes, "Love looks not with the eye, but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind." I think that comes from A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I have a series of quotes that a little later in the year I'll give you when we go back to Shakespeare. But at the moment we're in Spanish. All right, in the chronological survey, the 18th section of your notes now, page 18.6, I don't know, 7. We're in the Dark Ages, after the prehistoric period and the classical period. We're in the Dark Ages, and I dealt with the Vikings, and then I came to Arabic culture, and I dealt to some extent with the Muslim faith, Islam. Well, in those notes, I would like you to write down Spanish Connection. That's what I call it, the Spanish Connection. There was a movie once called The French Connection, and I think about that. I guess you would say this is an allusion to that. But what I mean by that is there is a connection between the revival of civilization in Northern Europe and Spain. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, or they don't appreciate it. I know President Obama, in a speech, what was it? It was, I don't know if it was delivered in Cairo or where it was. He referred to this. And I was a little bit surprised to hear him refer to that, because I think most people he could not count on his audience to necessarily appreciate the importance of the Arabic culture on our civilization. I learned it quite late in life, actually. The way the connection goes is that when Europe went into the Dark Ages and the Roman Empire collapsed, civilization did not altogether cease in Arabia. And with the spread of the Muslim faith, Muslim armies went across Africa. Let's see, it would be, as you look at me, across northern Africa, and they crossed at the Straits of Gibraltar into Spain. These were conquering armies, and they conquered Spain. And for about 400 years, Spain was Muslim, under Muslim control. That was stopped, actually. That spread of Islam was stopped in France at the Battle of Tours, also known as the Battle of Poitiers. There may be an S here, I'm not sure. And I think the year was 731, I'm not sure. Sometimes that battle is called the turning point in history that made it so that Europe, Northern Europe, or Europe, became Christian, not Muslim, because of that battle. But that's history. And this, I'm not really teaching a history course, I'm using history. Well, anyway, it was stopped, but Spain remained under Muslim control for about 400 years before it was then taken over again by Christian armies. Well, the Arabs had learned from the Greeks, and the Arabs had not lost that. And so when that culture spread along with Islam into Spain, there went so much of that classical knowledge into Spain. And eventually it crossed the mountains into Northern Europe. So that while Northern Europe was in the Dark Ages, a Spanish city like Cordova had running water, it had sewers, I think it had street lighting, it had libraries. This was while Europe was in the Dark Ages. Well, gradually it came there, and with it, for example, the use of the number 0, which changed mathematics, and much more. All right, now, finally, Back around that time, later than that time, we come to the classic of the poem of the Cid. The poem of the Cid, it's sometimes called El Cid, the Cid, El Cid. This can be considered to be the Spanish epic, just like the Vikings have, or the English has Beowulf. Well, the Spaniards have El Cid. It's in verse, of course, and there's a lot of things that people don't really know about it. But apparently, it was sung. I'm not actually positive that it's in a true epic style of being made up each time, but it was sung, not read, and it apparently changed a good bit. So in many ways, it's like a true epic. Well, it was made into a movie. The Cid was this Spanish hero who fought against the Moors, although at one point he fought against the Christians. You could look him up. Interesting. Anyway, that was made into a movie in 1961. About the time I was so ready to be influenced by literature. I think I was in 10th grade maybe. Anyway, I usually like my students to see a clip of it. I'm not saying it's a great movie, but I like them to see the clip called the Battle for Calavera. And on YouTube it's there. Here's the guy that uploaded it, LE0 POARD 13, so it's like a leopard in a way. And that is exactly the clip that I would use. Now, I would use it partly for them to see medieval Spain, but I would also use it to try to begin to show that extreme courtesy that developed in the time of the Middle Ages, where people, champions fought and killed and died according to rules of behavior. And I'd like to point out how organized that was, something I come back to later on. So if you would like to, usually the kids, they love to see some clips to mix up their day. That's what I would use right here. And tomorrow, I'll give you your Spanish test.